Pakistani community at UConn this year. It's very important to us as a community to have events of this nature that highlight social justice for Pakistan, as we are a minority group on campus. Our goal is to make these events better and bigger each year because of the meaning that they hold and the awareness that they spread. I just want to take a moment to thank Todd Shea for being here today, as well as the PCUC board for coming together to make this event happen. I'm now going to give it over to Frayal, our social justice chair, to speak more about why we chose CDRS and Todd Shea for our event this year.
Good evening, everyone. As Mariam just mentioned, my name is Frayal, and I serve as a social justice chair on PCUC. When choosing a speaker for this event, I wanted to work with someone that aligned with the values PCUC holds true to itself, someone that dissolved the boundaries between themselves and their community, unapologetically represented Pakistan, and as a bonus, routinely did their work or research in Pakistan. When coming across Comprehensive Disaster Relief Services, otherwise known as CDRS, I knew that the founder of this organization would completely fit these values. This nonprofit and charitable organization is registered in the United States, UK, and Pakistan as a responder to emergencies and disasters. Todd Shea has responded to disasters, including the tragic events of 9/11 in New York and Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. The majority of his disaster relief operations and developmental work were performed throughout Pakistan, and he was recognized for that as a 2006 Tangai Isar Medal recipient, one of the highest humanitarian honors one can receive in Pakistan amongst the other numerous commendations and awards Todd has received in his time working for CDRS. What I personally admire the most about CDRS is their commitment to long-term relief programs in Pakistan, such as health system support and rehabilitation, support to patients with special needs, maternal and prenatal health care, youth community service, and women's empowerment programs. CDRS is constantly pushing the social barrier to ensure that women and children in Pakistan are deemed of equal importance. Todd was also recognized for his talent in Pakistan, as he's even performed hit songs along Atif Aslam, one of Pakistan's most iconic singers. He will be showcasing his talent for singing at the end of today's event. So, without any further delay, please join me in welcoming Todd Shea.
बहुत शुक्रिया. Assalamu alaikum. So, I really appreciate the Pakistani community at the University of Connecticut for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It's a huge honor. I was here a couple of years ago, and we did an event. Some of you I remember from last time, and I really had a good time. It was my first time at UConn. So thank you for having me. And we were in a smaller room last time. Now we've moved it up. We've moved it up in the world a little bit. So that's good to see. And I appreciate each one of you for coming and I guess caring enough about social justice to support a dinner that is themed on social justice. I would like to see, I wish more people would come and support social justice causes, because the world is going in a direction where this is a major issue, and we have a lot of terrible things going on in the world right now in Kashmir, in Pakistan, and other places where we need to be aware of issues that revolve around social justice and equality and war, peace. And unfortunately, my generation and beyond has not given you, our bright, wonderful young people, the best world to start out in. We've kind of messed it up. I hope you guys can fix it, because we've messed it up pretty good for you overall collectively. So I'm not a formal guy. You might be able to tell. I'm not really a formal person, kind of informal. So if anybody has any questions, this can be more of a discussion. I'm not really like a speech sort of guy. But I guess I'll talk a little bit about my personal story. For me, on this theme of social justice, I think for me the most important thing that I could tell you that maybe you would take with you, or that you would remember, about my speaking here is that to me, social justice and what we do as human beings, what really matters is our actions, not just our words. Doesn't matter. I mean, when we die, our Creator is not going to ask us how much money we made and how famous we were. He might ask us how we use that money and how we use that fame, or our blessings, or whatever we've got. Fame doesn't impress me. I've met so many famous and rich and powerful people. And what impressed me about them was if they treated somebody nicely, if they were good to somebody, if they cared about the world, if they did something to make less fortunate people have hope. If somebody was just rich and famous and just had an ego about them and just cared about themselves and ingratiating themselves, that doesn't impress me at all. That kind of person, I don't want to hang out with them, I don't want to be seen with them, and I have had rich and powerful friends and famous friends that I have kicked to the curb because they weren't that good to people. They were just in it for themselves. So for me, it's your actions that will be remembered and that will be counted, and what you had or didn't have, it's really not important. It's how you used whatever you had. I have met some of the richest and most powerful people on the planet in my years. I've met presidents and kings and wealthy people and billionaires, and I've met some of the most poor. And believe you me, some of the most wonderful, amazing people I've ever met that I would love to, I could hang out with them and stay in their house the rest of their lives, are some of the poorest people I've ever met. I've also met some really terrific, wealthy people too. It's not mutually exclusive that you're a great person if you're poor and you're a horrible person if you're rich. I don't believe in those kinds of divisions. Everybody's different, you know. But for me, there's something about being a white guy working in Pakistan and doing relief work around the world that I feel a special responsibility to. The responsibility that I feel that I have is that although personally, as a white person, I've never oppressed anybody, I've never, I never cared to support anyone that was racist. I never cared to support the idea of slavery or somebody being racially better than anybody else. Never been into any of that. But being a white person, I understand about white supremacy and I understand about white privilege. And to me, again, it's how do I use it? If I have this white privilege that I was born with, that I didn't want, I didn't ask for, that I would really rather toss aside, to be honest with you, but if it's there and there's nothing I can do about it, then perhaps the best way to utilize that is to support those who have been oppressed and who have been victimized by it. So one of the reasons why I work in the places that I do is because I very strongly believe in humanity, and I believe in serving human beings, and I believe in actually taking action, getting my hands dirty, delivering medicines, getting my hands dirty, going to disaster zones where there's disease and there's death and suffering, and absorbing that pain and being in those conditions to try to help others who are living in those conditions who have no choice to get out of they can't get out of those conditions. They are trapped there by their economic circumstances, by the circumstances of their lives, by not being able to get a visa, whatever. Having a U.S. passport, whether you're white or any other color, having that blue passport is really a ticket to almost anywhere in the world. And a lot of people don't have that. I have 50 employees in Pakistan. They're all Pakistani Kashmiri. They're my employees, but they're really my brothers and sisters. We're a family, and that's how we treat each other. And I find it very shameful and sad that some of the best people that I've ever met, they can't come here. They're not going to come here. They don't have the money or the wealth or the ability to come here. Even with me being an American, they don't let poor people in, for the most part. If I bring them a letter saying how great they've been working for me and come to this country and visit, well, the first thing that the visa officer is going to think is that they're going to try to come here and overstay their visa. You know, that's how they assume these things. And they're even worse these days. They've become much more strict and much more problematic for getting visas of any kind. Maybe some of you have even family members who have been through this kind. So for me, just as a human being who understands, and not only understands the differences between people, but respects and appreciates and celebrates the differences that people have, whether it be in color or gender or economic station or whatever it may be. The differences are wonderful. But I also want to live my life that when my days are over, when I'm dead, when I'm gone, when I'm through, and then people talk about what I did, who I was, I hope that they would remember me as being a human being who served other human beings regardless of where they were from or what religion they were, and that I loved people genuinely on their humanity and would not be known for doing anything to harm them, to harm their people, to harm their religion. So that's what I'd like to be remembered for. That's why I do what I do. I sort of discovered this by accident. I grew up in Maryland to a lower middle class family. We lived in a neighborhood that was pretty much 50% white and 50% African American. Mostly that was the makeup of the neighborhood. So we had a very different neighborhood, and I grew up with people of all kinds. And I think that also helped me, realize that people are just people, no matter what. And that was, and thank God my parents weren't racist and didn't teach me that crap. So, growing up, I got into music. I loved music, and unfortunately, my mom passed away when I was 12, and she had left me a guitar that Christmas. Just a month before she died, she bought a guitar for me. So on Christmas, I got that guitar a month later after she passed away, and that guitar became my link to her. So I practiced every day, and I really kind of, in my teenage years, I didn't really pay attention to going to school or my studies. I mostly just got into the guitar. So academically, I wasn't achieving. I got into the wrong crowd because we were playing rock and roll and I was in bands, got into drugs. So the teenage years were pretty rough time for me in terms of the grief over my mother's death that I hadn't gotten over. So I went into music, and music saved my life, and music was what became my career. As my career in music got more popular and better, and I started playing in bigger bands and traveling more, and finally got a record deal, I had moved to New York in 1998, and I got a record deal. It's a guy named Sid Bernstein. He had brought the Beatles and the Stones to America and if you look up Sid Bernstein, you'll see that in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, he was one of the biggest rock and pop impresarios, mules that you can imagine. I mean, bringing the Stones and the Beatles to America, having worked with Frank Sinatra and these artists, he was a very big promoter. So he signed me to a deal and recorded me, and I started going on that track of thinking that I was going to be some big famous musician. So he had set up a showcase for me at CBGB's nightclub in Lower Manhattan, and that was going to be September 12th, 2001. Well, September 11th, 2001 happened the day before, obviously, 9/11. I looked out of my hotel room when I was getting ready. I got up in the morning, I was getting ready to go to a recording studio to record and rehearse for my big gig the next day at CBGB's nightclub, and I saw the towers on fire. And I knew that gig was over. I immediately went down to Ground Zero in Manhattan. I stayed there for a week. I saw death and destruction beyond what I ever imagined. I saw things that I never, ever thought in my worst nightmares that I'll see. But at the same time, I learned some things about myself. I learned that I was good at getting supplies and these medicines and things that doctors and firefighters needed, because they were going into the wreckage of these towers trying to find survivors and their fellow firemen that got lost in the wreckage. So I was there getting them food and medicines and supplies and masks and boots and all kinds of things, whatever was needed. We set up a little, I'd say it was kind of like the pharmacy supply convenience store at the corner of Church and Liberty, right at the scene of the towers and where they fell. So that week, something changed in me. The desire for being famous, having a million people buy my record, having concerts and having all these people screaming, Todd Shea, those things, that fame and fortune and wanting to make it big and have a lot of money playing music, all those things evaporated with the towers. After that, the music career that I dreamed about felt shallow. It felt like a selfish pursuit. It felt empty compared to what I had experienced, both good and bad, because as bad as things were down at Ground Zero, the feeling of being able to help somebody who needed it. Because these firefighters and these rescuers, they were going into this pile of molten steel and 12-hour shifts, and they come out exhausted. They needed somebody to get them taken care of, get them their food and their supplies and their blankets and their tents. I was among those people that was doing that. So after a week of being there, I left that place a changed person. I still play music. I still enjoy it. Like Bara mentioned, I think I played not only with Ante Costa, I performed with strings, and I'm an honorary member of Santa Marga's band. I jam with them pretty much whenever I'm in the same town. I go sit in with them. Fantastic musicians. I performed with Rahat Fatali Khan. Oh God, so many wonderful ones. Science Award. I could keep naming them. There's so many great talents in Pakistan. But I've had the opportunity as a musician to perform with these guys and ladies, and it's been a wonderful experience. But as a commercial venture, I gave up music a long time ago, and I've never looked back, and I don't regret it. I went to several disasters after that, just as a personal volunteer. I didn't have, CDRS had not been started yet. That didn't start till Pakistan. So it was a Hurricane Katrina, and then the tsunami in Sri Lanka. I think the tsunami in Sri Lanka happened first, then Hurricane Katrina. So those two disasters were the same year as the earthquake in Pakistan, but just before that. So I was at those two disasters. I did a lot of logistics work, volunteering with other organizations. When I came to Pakistan, I had just come back from Hurricane Katrina and literally had walked in the door to see my son. We had been in the door for 5 minutes when we turned on the TV and saw earthquake in Pakistan. Is all over the media. So I said to my son, I'm going to Pakistan. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know who I was going with. But because I'd been to these other two big disasters, I knew I could be of help. So I made that decision to go to Pakistan before having anything worked out. I'm one of those guys that makes a decision to go do something and then figures out how to do it. I've met a lot of people that they figure out whether they're able to do something before they decide to do it. I've got it the other way around. For better or for worse, I'm a guy that decides to do something, and then I'll figure out along the way if I can do it. But what I've learned is that Allah opens doors for you. If you walk through that door, if you decide with intention, then the doors start opening. And that's what happened. I got the number off Google for the Pakistani embassy. I called them, and they said, yes, there's a group of Pakistani American doctors that are going, and we're coordinating with them. Here's their number. I called them. I told them I had just been at Hurricane Katrina and tsunami doing logistics work, and they said, we need you. We're just a bunch of doctors going, and we're definitely going to need a logistics person. So they grabbed me up. I joined them. After working with them for 2 weeks of getting all their supplies together and taking care of their needs so that they could spend all their time being doctors and saving lives, and I saw them doing miraculous things. Limbs that I thought couldn't be saved, I saw them save. Lives that I thought wouldn't survive, they survived because of these doctors and their skills. So it was very important for me to be there to get their medicines and organize their supplies and get their fuel and take care of their tents and blankets and transport and pick up at the airport and drop off, all those things that they needed us for. So I put a little team together of some Kashmiri young men and women who, their houses were destroyed, but they weren't injured. A lot of them had family members who were injured or killed, but that became my team. We took care of those doctors. After about 2 weeks, those doctors went home, and they asked me to stay because they said more doctors are coming. They asked me if I'd stay for a few months as this process continued of helping the people, because all the hospitals had been destroyed. So after about 3 or 4 months, people started asking me to stay. Hey, why don't you stay? People in the Army. Hey, we'll help you register an organization. You know, basically because of the love of the Pakistani people and the Kashmiri people that we served, it was their love by asking me to stay that made me say, you know, this is a good way to serve humanity. I like it here. I really like the culture. I weigh about 320 pounds now. I weighed 200 at that time when I was 39 in 2005. So I've definitely been fed well in Pakistan, no doubt about it. So there was so much about the culture and the people and the nation that I loved. Also, I scratched my head and I said, man, this is not Pakistan that I've seen on Fox News or even CNN. You know, 2% of the truth 100% of the time. This other 98% that I'm seeing, these beautiful children, these beautiful people, I haven't seen this anywhere before. Why hasn't anybody ever talked about these folks? So it really opened my eyes about Pakistan. So when asked to stay and register my own organization, I said okay, and I registered it, and 15 years later, we have served millions of people. We've worked in 6 flood disasters, 2 major flood disasters out of that. Emergency heat, emergency in Karachi. Because of the fight with the Taliban in Swat in North Waziristan in 2009 and 2014, worked with Imran Khan Foundation and EDI on missions there, got to meet those 2 people, and they're wonderful people. So my team and I have gotten to serve a lot of people in Pakistan, and you know, the awards and the medals that we've received are nice, but it's actually the love of the people and the fact that they loved and cared about me enough and appreciated my work to actually ask me to stay and live with them. That is really, I think, the biggest award that I got, the award of their hearts. So that's really my story. And I come to the U.S. a couple times a year for fundraising. And unfortunately, it's 99% Pakistani Americans that support me. Laura's are not supporting, for the most part. My son, Justin, he works with me, and he does a lot of great stuff. But as far as getting support and donations so that we can do a lot more work in Pakistan, we haven't been able to do that. But since coming to Pakistan, I've also done emergency missions at the Rohingya camps last year, the year before, earthquake in Haiti, tsunami in Japan. Justin and I went to the Philippines. Justin, while I was in the Rohingya camps in Pakistan, he was for 3 months in Puerto Rico, handing out water filters and solar lights to people in remote areas of Puerto Rico. So my son is now taking on this work as well as doing music. So he's kind of, I guess you could say, following in my footsteps, for better or for worse. So I would love it if you would come up and say a few words, Justin, if you don't mind, about your work. Is that okay with you guys? And then we'll play a few songs until you guys kick us out. And also, after he speaks, if you have any questions for either of us, if you're curious about anything, please do not hesitate to let us know.
Thank you. I didn't know I'd be speaking tonight, but thanks for having me. I might make it short. Need a few seconds to try to work out something clever to say to all of you guys.
That was clever.
That was?
Yeah.
Was it? I don't know. But yeah, been working with CDRS and my father in some capacity ever since he started the organization. He had been a volunteer, like he mentioned, in those other emergencies. I was younger. I believe when he volunteered for the after the 9/11 at Ground Zero. I was like 9 years old or something. What was it? What would that have been? 10 or 11 maybe. 10, something. But yeah, I remember being in school and like they wouldn't tell us. They like canceled the rest of the week classes. They wouldn't tell us what it was, and so we had to go home. And I think my mom ended up telling me and showing me what happened on TV. But anyway, not from that moment, but from when he started CDRS in Pakistan in 2005 after the Zalzala, I had been helping out in whatever ways I could, raise awareness funds and try to get people interested. He'd come back. I have, from that point up until now, have served as everything from president of CDRS USA to gopher to driver to personal assistant to my father. Pretty much anything. Musician, we put music a lot together. So it's crazy. There's a lot of different things that we've done. It's a pretty interesting job. You're not going. I had worked at a law firm for a while, about a year. You go in and you get to your cubicle and you start. It was paralegal work, so maybe if I had continued, what I wanted to do was go to law school. So maybe if I had done that and come back, I could have been a law clerk or maybe an associate. Maybe that would have been a little bit more interesting. But I still got enough of the inner workings of how a law firm operates with my paralegal work, and I saw associates and law clerks working. But there was also another side to it, a little bit of a personal thing. The lawyer would have his wife in there, and they'd argue a lot. He kicked her out a couple times. So there was that aspect to it. But even without that, I still don't think what I got from it wasn't fulfilling at all. Even when the days were great, when everybody was getting along and we were getting a lot of work done, it's just, I don't know, it felt hollow. Some of what we were doing was construction law related, that was okay. And then the other part we were doing was collections. So somebody gets in an accident, they can't pay their medical bills, or they owe on something. I don't know. Then you go after him, you call them, you badger him, like, oh, please, pay us or whatever. I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't making me happy. So I was glad to be done with that. And as soon as I stopped working there, I started working with Dad full time. And since then, it's just been a pretty crazy adventure. You had said for better or for worse, and it's a lot of both. Actually, a lot of emotion, a lot of good emotion, bad emotion, a lot of hard work, a lot of getting to know a lot of different peoples and cultures and learning a lot. It's great and it's tough and it's all things in between. I guess I should say something to tie this more to our theme tonight, social justice.
What you're saying is it matters.
Huh?
What you're saying is it matters.
It matters.
It matters to somebody.
Exactly. So, I think what seeing how my dad works and being involved in this organization, from the age I started till now, all this experience I've gotten, it's really taught me how regardless of your race, your religion, your gender, your whatever, what should matter first is that you're a human being, and you as an individual, you matter. Individuality matters a great deal, and coming together and as a community of individuals, contributing what makes you unique to that group, and strengthening the group. That's always been something very, very close to me. And I like to protect individuality. I like to protect things that are unique, that are constructive and not destructive. I really feel for the people, some of them are our employees, and I really feel for anybody that I even haven't met in Kashmir that has suffered from oppression from, places like Sudan. And, if I prepared a speech, I would have been gone through a little bit more of them. But to sum it up, I think, you should pursue what you have to. You have to pursue a livelihood and a career that you can use to take care of yourself. You got to feed yourself. You got to clothe yourself. You got to, and even if you want more, if you want a Lamborghini, if you make enough money, or a mansion, whatever, you can have that. But you got to remember that there are people that didn't have your opportunity, and we should get to the point as a species on this planet where we start to remember that, and we start to give people who never had opportunities before the opportunity to shine and show us what makes them unique, what they can contribute to the rest of us.
For a totally unprepared speech, because he didn't know he was going to speak. I knew he was going to speak. That's it. Because if I had said something, then he would have prepared something, and it might have come across prepared. Who knows? So I like that it was spontaneous. So anyway, we're going to play a few songs. I have some business cards here. Any of you and all of you are welcome to volunteer and come to our hospital in Swat, to come to our child health clinic in Gujarat, to come to one of our 250 water projects from Chitral to Karachi, to volunteer with one of our 30 youth chapters from Chumma to Lahore, from Swat to Water. We're all over the place. We're a small organization, but we have a lot of youth. We have about a little over 1,500 volunteers. We have 50 employees. We're doing medical work. We're rescuing Lilies. We're taking care of food student and veteran children and Zabardast families. And we're doing some really amazing work for some really amazing people. And you're invited if you want to come for a week or two or a month or whatever. Bring your family. We've had doctors come with their family. We had a doctor from Boston, Dr. Salman Malik, who brought his wife. Sometimes, the thing about Swat is it's such a beautiful mountainous area like Switzerland that you can come there and do kind of relief work from 8 a.m. in the morning until 2 or 3 in the afternoon at the hospital. And then after that, you can go climb a mountain or see the sights or go fishing or have a bonfire that night. We'll have a good barbecue for you. So it's definitely a way that you can do some good work, but also experience some really beautiful people and beautiful places and beautiful things. So you are invited. Do get a business card if you'd like. And if anyone has any questions, please do let me know. Any questions? Any comments? Anything? There you go. Yes? If somebody wants to volunteer, you just write me on my email there. We do have at the website, there is a volunteer form you can fill out. You can do that. But you can also contact me on the email. What I need to know from you so we can give you a good experience and have you do something valuable to yourself and for us as far as our work goes is to let us know what you prefer, what your skill set is, the things that you think you could do. Because what we'll do is from that, it'll be a conversation starter. Then we'll talk about more things that might spark more ideas. But start off with base information. Who are you? What are you majoring in? What is your interests? What field are you wanting to be a part of? And what kind of work would you like to do? Some kids want to go and volunteer at the medical center. Some want to go and volunteer teaching computers to children at school. We do all those things. So there's a lot of different activities that we have between our youth chapters, our water projects, and our various individual missions where we help individual patients, or our medical centers, which are whole facilities. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Islamic Medical Association of North America. They come every couple months with a group of doctors. It happens to be 7 ladies coming in next week. 7 ladies from here are coming to the SWAT Center, which is amazing because they're all pediatricians and obstetrics, gynecology, all of the general of physicians, so they have everything covered. And not only are they able to treat patients, but they can teach with their skills, they can teach my staff even more. So there's all kinds of ways to volunteer, all kinds of things to do. So basically just write to me and tell me a little bit of your interest. Tell me when you can come, how long you want to be there, what time of year. Are you good with the snow? Are you better in the heat? You don't like the heat, but you like it cool. You know, some you know, we can cater to the different preferences that you have. We also want to know, you know, what a little bit about your. If you have family there, do you need the visa? Do you have a visa already, or do you have a? You know, because sometimes you have to apply for the visa, and then sometimes the Pakistani families here already have their NIC card because they go back and forth.
Well,
So it just kind of depends on your particular situation. We get all that together because we can apply for the visas for you or help you in that process if that's needed. So, you know, yes. A day of my work. Oh my goodness. It's different every day because I will some days have to be writing donors all day, asking them for help and showing them our, you know, we just scored on this huge evaluation that we got by Pakistan Center for Philanthropy, which is the gold standard. We got 822 scored out of 1,000, which is very high. Anything over 800 is in the elite. Anything over 600 is passing. A lot fail, but a lot of the organizations that pass, 650 to 700. We got a very high score at 822. So we are very proud of that fact and the work that we're doing. And so, I'm sorry, what was it that you said again? Oh, a day, yeah. So I go off these tangents and forget about that. So sometimes I'll be working on something like that with my staff. You know, sometimes it's working on getting donors. Sometimes it's working on showing our donors what we've done. Sometimes it's working on all of the finances and all the administrative stuff that I don't really like doing. But you have to do it because you're running an organization, you're responsible. So the taxes and the compliance issues, they all have to be dealt with. So I work with my team on that. Travel in all kinds of places. Being in a Jeep on some mountain road that might fall off the cliff any minute, you know, to some remote faraway village to set up a medical camp or to help others. So it's a little bit of everything. It's every given day it's fun, but it's different every day. It's every day you wake up, it's a different challenge. It's a different set of circumstances, a different place. Because when I'm in Pakistan, which is about 8 months of the year, then I come back here a couple times a year for fundraising. So when I'm in Pakistan, I visit all of our, visit our water projects, as many youth chapters as I can. So in a given 4 months, I'll visit twice to Lahore, twice to Karachi. Our office is in Islamabad. We also have an orphanage, a house of blessings for widows and orphans in Islamabad, which all of you are invited to see if you ever come to Islamabad. So I'll go to Chitral for a couple days, then I'll hit Swat, then I'll go down to shower, then I'll go over to Kashmir. So we visit all of our little places of work, meet the team members, see what they need, make sure things are going right. If something's going wrong, because when you're doing as many things and working in Pakistan, something does go wrong. Things go wrong, and you have to fix it, take care of it. So there's a lot of problem solving, there's a lot of innovating and always thinking. Sometimes I'm mentally exhausted and have to take a break for a couple days because of literally 16-hour days every day, where I wake up thinking about what I have to do, and I go to bed thinking what I have to do, and I've been thinking all day and doing, and then at night I dream about the things that I'm thinking about, needing to think about doing. So when you're running an organization and you're responsible, it is really, really tough. But again, I'm my own boss. It's rewarding. At the end of the day, I get to say, man, that cat wouldn't have gotten rescued and would have been dead if I hadn't. That family would not have been able to get the surgery that the father needed if we didn't go. At the end of the day, you take pride in knowing that your life mattered, that you have purpose. And it's a purpose that meant something, the difference between life and death, the difference between survival and not survival, that you were a part of, that God gave you that privilege of being a part of. So I feel quite a responsibility and also very privileged and being given the opportunity by God to do that. And to have the help of my family in that regard. So yeah, that's kind of like what a day is. Every day is different. Yes? Marion, right? You know, it's funny, because here's the thing about being a white guy working in Pakistan. The thing about being a white guy working in Pakistan is that white people think that you want to join the Taliban, right? So all of my friends, all of my white friends, you know, a lot of them have disowned me because they all, he's you know, now he's going to join Al Qaeda or something, you know, because I'm over in Pakistan. So yeah, they got that Fox News thinking stuck in their brain. They've been spoon-fed that nonsense for 30 years, 2% of the truth, 100% of the time. And so this is what goes on. It's unfortunate, you know, that this happens. In Pakistan, it's the other way around. Half the people think I'm a CIA agent. And everybody thinks I've got money, right? I left my career in music behind. I don't own anything because owning things doesn't matter to me. Some people really want to own a big mansion, and they really, really want to own that big car. And that's fine. That's totally fine if that's what they really want, and they go for it. Hey, more power to them. I couldn't give a shit less about having a house or a nice car. I just don't care. Ask my son. He knows that I don't care to the extreme, maybe to a fault. I just don't care. Nobody can make me care. I'm sorry. A lot of people have tried to make me care about those things. I just don't care. You know, it doesn't make any difference to me. So the way I live my life is more about collecting memories and collecting good deeds and doing good. Those are the things that make me happy, that I think about. All these other things, you know, are just, you know, to me, I don't worry about them. And I'm sorry, what was your question again? Originally? Oh yeah, that's, sorry. I've been traveling a lot, so my head is. What's that? Well, like I said, you know, some Pakistanis think I'm CIA, and they all think I have money. And so if I go to people and ask for money, if they think you already got a lot of money, and they think that you got a mansion hidden somewhere, it's hard to get money from people who think that. So sometimes it takes work for them to know me, and it takes other people that know me better to tell them, because they just don't believe me a lot of times. Like, even if poor people in Pakistan, a lot of them think that I'm rich, but there's a lot of rich people in Pakistan who also assume that, what is he doing here? If he's not, okay, he's either spying, or he's here and he's found a way to make a lot of money off of it. Well, my personal bank account has nothing in it. I have a 2004 Toyota Camry that I bought for $1,500 used. That is an upgrade from the '96 Chevy Lumina that I was driving in, that my son says is literally getting ready to fall apart as we're driving, and he says it's not safe there. So we upgraded to it. This is what I've got. But you've got people whose impressions and worldview is such that they can't see a white guy in that position. And looking at a white guy, that isn't necessarily the first thing they think, that he just is there because he loves children, and he wants to do something good for humanity. He wants to have a purpose so he can go to his Creator when he dies and feel reasonably assured that Creator is happy with what I did with my life, I hope. So when you're meeting anybody, whether it's here or there and in your lives, you'll meet people who, they won't see you. They won't, even if you show them who you are, because of their worldview or what's in their heart or what they're thinking, they're going to be blind to it. They'll be blind to who you really are sometimes. So there are people that I meet, both here and in Pakistan, that because of my humanitarian work, because of the love in my heart that led me to that, are blinded by what I really am. And what they see something totally different. And not always good what they see. But what can you do about that? You can't fight it, because then you look bad. You argue with them and fight with them, and then you look like a jerk. And then they say, see, I told you he was an asshole. If you just try to keep being your best and doing your best and trying to show who you really are, and hope that some people on this planet actually see it and acknowledge it, then that's going to have to be enough. Because you can never please everybody. You know, look at Michael Jackson or Atif Aslam, or look at your favorite singer, whoever he is, or she. Whoever they are, trust me, they got more people that hate them and think they can't sing than love them, right? You know, if somebody sells 1 million records, they're a million seller, right? They made 1 million, they've sold 1 million records. Well, what about the other 7.5 billion people or whatever on the planet that didn't buy your record, don't care, don't know you, or don't like you, right? So you can't please everybody, but we just try to do what we can. So it is challenging to be in this position, but at the same time, on the other side of it, there's some Pakistanis who trust me more. Because they say, oh, you're a Gora, you're honest. I'm not the one saying it, but they have had a problem somewhere along the line with people being dishonest with them and take advantage of them. And it's true that some people are on their best behavior when the Gora's around. Maybe they don't do the same thing to me as they would with somebody else. I don't know. I've been told that. So it's very fascinating, sometimes funny, and sometimes really sad. You know, that this goes on, but it is what it is. Any other questions? Yes? Excellent question. Excellent question, because we always need help setting up events here. Like everybody here, between all of you, probably have friends or relatives in many cities in the States, in Canada, UK, and even in Pakistan. We need help meeting new communities because we want to raise more budget. And in order to do that, you have to meet new people. And I just went to Cincinnati and Richmond, Virginia in the last month for the very first time, meeting the community there. A lot of them had either just barely heard of me and didn't really know what I was doing and had some misconceptions because they didn't know. My fault, I hadn't visited them, I didn't have a chance. So I visited them, and then they supported it, they really liked it. So if you can introduce me to different people, if you can help somebody that can help with social media, spreading the word about what we do, you know, looking at our website and looking at our Facebook page and getting familiar with some of our videos and then sharing them, that helps a lot. The other way that people can help is we do need some summer interns to help us with data entry of some of our mission work and our statistics and our donors, because we're really behind in keeping up with our donors and communicating with them properly. Because it's gotten so big, it's too big for just a couple people. Administratively, we've kept things small here. But then when you keep things administratively small to save money, then when you need administrative oomph to your organization, it's not there. So we do need pro bono help and interns that can help with all sorts of office work, all sorts of promotion requirements, and that kind of help. So there's a lot that can be done from here as well, if you can't go to Boston. There's not an office in the U.S. I mean, I was basically homeless in the U.S. for the last 15 years because I was mostly in Pakistan. I didn't need a home. When I come back, I was going to 10 cities for fundraising anyway. So there was no point. But my wife, in the last, I married a Pakistani young lady. We've been together for 10 years. And she just got a green card because we were worried about Trump, you know, the Muslim ban and all this stuff. So a couple years ago, we got her green card. She just got a green card. So now that she's here a lot, we got a basement. We rented a basement near Dulles Airport. Really beautiful Afghan family that let us have their basement for very cheap. So now we have a place to hang our hat, and instead of having all my records and receipts and office stuff in the trunk of the car, now we've got it in a little office. So now it's not an office like a professional office, but it's got all of our stuff like an office in one of the rooms at in this basement. So that is our office right now. So hopefully, maybe one day we'll actually have an office, you know, proper here. But that's never been the priority. You know, the groundwork in the field has always been a priority, and in some cases that might hurt us because you know you have to have some administrative infrastructure. So we are working on that this year. We made $600,000 last year. We're working on $1 million this year, And so if we break it in, then we definitely have to have a professional office. You know, just the sheer numbers and work that needs to be done administratively is more than what 1 or 2 people can do. So we'll have to have an office. And we'll probably have it in the Washington, D.C. area. But there's no reason why we can't have it in Yukon either. You know, who knows? All right. Anything else? Anyone else? So shall we play a couple songs? And I also meant to, let's play a couple songs. And I also meant to thank the University of Connecticut Pakistan community for the donations that they have put together. I understand that there's some donations that they have put together for a water project and helped us with that expense. So thank you very much for raising that money. And who did the bake sale? Who was the ones that ran the bake sale? All right. Well, thank you so much. Big hand for you guys. Can you save me a cookie, a chocolate chip cookie? Oh, sold out. All right. Well, I guess that's good, but now I'm missing my chocolate chip cookie.
Should we do Dil Dil Pakistan first or last? It's up to you guys. You guys are the boss. First or last? We do like some covers of like, you know, Pink Floyd and, you know, some of those kinds of songs that we do. But as far as Pakistani songs, we can do Adil by Atif Aslam. Did you like that song? After we play it, you might wish that we hadn't played it. You're like, oh God, they ruined that one for me forever. Okay, we'll do Adil. We'll do Adil. Yeah.
क्योंकि तुम ही हो, अब तुम ही हो जिंदगी, अब तुम ही हो शेरनी मुझे दर्द भी मेरी आशिकी, अब तुम ही हो क्योंकि तुम ही हो, अब तुम ही हो जिंदगी, अब तुम ही हो शेरनी मुझे दर्द भी मेरी आशिकी, अब तुम ही हो.
Right. Thank you for that. The lights, that was a nice touch. That was great. I loved that. That was cool. It was like a concert hall. Yeah. Really? Wow. Thank you. Great job.
It actually told us that about octave, the octave songs, the octave. Somebody said that.
Sometimes some people said to me that that is the absolute worst audit I've ever heard in my life. But they were from India. I'm just kidding. We love Indian people too. We just want you guys to be at peace with us. All right, we're going to do this last one for y'all. Thank you so much for inviting us to this absolutely zabardast and khoobsurat occasion, the social justice dinner of the Pakistani community of Yukon. If you want to sing along, please do, and make sure you get some film of this, somebody. And tag me to it. Essi zani ola sama inke silva janan kaha perdirahi ye roshani chelta hai ye karvan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan. Dil dil se milne to pyar ka chena bantai chena bantai Bule leti me pero me tuhe sera bantai hey dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan. सबको जी जान से यार लगता है हमको भी अपने बाबा से प्यार लगता है everybody dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan dil dil Pakistan jan jan Pakistan. precisamente coração que se vai partirai Yeroshemi Shezarahe Ye Caravan Dil Pakistan Jan Jan Pakistan Dil Pakistan Jan Jan You come Pakistan Dil Pakistan Jan Jan You come Dil Pakistan You come Pakistan Dil Pakistan Jan Jan Pakistan Dil Pakistan Jan Jan Pakistan 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 Zindabad Bahut bahut shukriya and Allah Hafiz. And like I said, I have some flyers and some business cards here if anyone would like them. We even have a credit card machine in case anybody wants to donate anymore. Or if your parents want to donate, let us know. Give me a call. I'm open 24/7.
All right, let's give him another round of applause.